The Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience presented by Jägermeister. Give your beer a real shot this summer. An ice-cold shot of Jägermeister. Today, we're breaking down the top receivers for PPR scoring for the 2018 fantasy football season. I've already released my top 200 rankings. Did that with Evan Silva. You can check that out in the description of this video. Find the link to that and the rankings up on DKPlaybook.com. And I did my running back rankings to begin with Garion Thorne, who's here again.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah.
You seem less enthused than the running back show.
I think I would prefer talking about running backs.
Yeah,
it's that kind of year.
It is, and we'll get into some strategy here about wide receivers and all the tier breakdown, but I do want to let the people know that you want some DK bucks? Fill up your account, maybe get into the week 1 millionaire maker? Well, here's what you do. Leave your DK handle in the comments section after giving the episode a like, and let me know your 2 favorite wide receiver sleepers of the year. I'll be doing a draw, and when I do my rankings update at the beginning of August, I will be giving away some winners. So you have to tune back in then to see if you won. Or you just log on to DraftKings and see if there's more money in your account, then you know you've won, all right? So it's not just Gary and I breaking this all down. We need to get the mad ramblings of Tim Andergust.
Tim Andergust.
That's not my name.
If that's really not your name, what is your name?
I'm afraid you're going to cut me off.
I would never cut you off.
My name is Tim Anderson.
No, see, I don't believe that to be fact. You're just fake news. Like we always say, fake news Tim. Fake news Tim Andergust.
Fake news.
Dr. Tim Andergust.
Steve Bannon of the podcast.
I forgot that he was the Steve Bannon of the Pat Mayo Experience.
Well, I mean, again, Steve Bannon's notoriety kind of went down a little bit.
Steve Bannon feels like 20 years ago at this point.
He's probably aged 20 years.
Could he age 20 years?
I think he ages in 20-year intervals.
Oh, that's rough, Tim. You're not aging in 20-year intervals, are you?
I think we actually have a recent photo of Tim.
More and more youthful every year.
No, yeah, if you want to see the recent photo of Tim, tune into the running back show as Tim had to pay off his bets from last year when he went a clean 0% against me. It's a good picture. It's right at the beginning. You're going to want to check that out. All right, so let's get right into the wide receiver ranking, sorry.
Even subconsciously, you want to talk about running backs.
Guess who I have at number 1?
Antonio Brown.
That is who's number 1. He's on a tier, though. These are tiered rankings. So it's Antonio Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, and Odell Beckham Jr. ODB, OBJ, he back.
What is the preferred?
I don't care.
Someone got mad at me once.
Because
I didn't do the right one.
That sounds like a very Tim-level thing to be upset about.
Okay, well then I will ask Tim. Tim, which one is it?
It doesn't matter what it is!
That was destined to happen, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You had your fun now?
Yeah, I'm always having fun. It's my show.
I say ODB. I don't care whether it's right or wrong. It's what I've been doing since the start. That's what I'm going to keep doing.
The start.
It's like GIF. There are people who are losers who say GIF who don't know any better, but it's GIF.
You mean everyone? I feel like if you say GIF, you have serious fucking mental problems.
Yeah, you do.
You created it and therefore know the proper technology.
No, why? Just the creator is the one who has to dictate the stuff? No, it's now in the as a man of the people, Tim. I would think that you would want to side with the people on this, but no, you're siding with some elitist.
I'm trying to steer the people towards the truth.
Yeah, but no one cares. No one believes you because you're a mental case. It says GIF.
I am not.
You kind of are. You're a doctor of being nuts.
That is not helping your case.
So, Brown, Hopkins, Beckham on a tier by themselves. Do you think that any of the other guys, Garion, should be a part of that tier 1, or should that tier be smaller? Because in my overall rankings, I have these guys at 4, 5, and 6.
No, I think this is right.
Hear that, Tim? I'm right!
Yeah, okay.
I don't know how Tim could disagree with this. Like, I think the only argument... Well, I know you are. That's why I'm kind of curious. I would say the only way to disagree would to make this tier smaller.
That would be my case, too, that I'd have Brown and Hopkins by themselves.
Yeah, you take
and then Beckham
out,
on his...
Possibly, he'd be on his own tier. But that's the only differentiation I can see. I think there's a clear separation between these 3 gentlemen and everyone else.
Well, Beckham missed week 1 last year. So I was trying to hunt it down. I was in Dallas trying to figure out what was going on. Couldn't figure it out. They wouldn't let me anywhere
Yeah, I
near the
remember that,
facility.
yep.
But he didn't play. And then we like...
Well, you were on a facility. You were on the practice field.
That's true, yeah. Getting the real insight.
Yeah.
Talking to the people. Hey, security guard man, you know anything about the Giants? No. All right, perfect. But
Chris
Beckham...
Farley knew a lot as a security guard in Wayne's World, so I don't blame you for asking.
Relevant.
Thanks.
Topical.
Very, very helpful with your contributions to the show, Tim. Thank you.
I try.
So where is it that you would go differently here?
So I would shorten the first tier to Antonio Brown on his own. I think he is by himself. And then I would really massively rearrange the next 9 guys. I would scramble them up. I would have Keenan 2. I think he's the second best receiver in fantasy this season. So I'm having Keenan Allen 2. Then I'm putting Julio Jones 3. And then I'm going to put Hopkins 4, Michael Thomas 5, Doug Baldwin 6, Beckham 7, Green 8, and then who did I not mention? Whoever I didn't mention, Devontae Adams. I guess I haven't 10 or whatever.
So is it the injury or the quarterback? Or
Both.
both I guess.
And, if we remember, I was talking on the running back show. I mean, we've already referenced it, so people know it exists. I was quite down on Saquon Barkley, and part of the reason was I think that the quarterback play is so putrid in New York and is going to get worse, not better. As Chairman Mao says, it's always darkest before it's completely black. It is going to get much worse in New York.
Here's a hot take, though. What if Eli Manning's a better quarterback when Odell Beckham Jr. is healthy?
I don't think it'll... I think that would matter for 99% of the cases. I just think Eli Manning is done. And as such, I don't think it matters what weapons you surround him with. If you're done, you're done. So, I mean, I don't have Beckham like way down, like 7. Okay, he's like a second-round pick instead of the number 3 receiver. Okay, well then we slightly different. He missed a lot of last year.
Well, that's the difference between drafting Beckham and not drafting Beckham. So
I would
clearly
not
you're not drafting Beckham. Okay.
Now, I think Keenan Allen's a better pick for this season. Not skill-wise. Obviously, Beckham, in terms of his raw skill, is better. But Keenan Allen is going into, I mean, I don't have to rehearse the arguments of how good San Diego's offense is going to be. It's going to be amazing.
I believe, as you would say it, it's actually Los Angeles.
That's a very fair point. I don't have to rehearse how good that offense is going to be. But it is going to be amazing. And Hunter Henry getting hurt actually means I think there's going to be more receptions for the wide receivers, and Allen is going to be the beneficiary.
Well, I don't know if he can go up.
That's the thing I was going to say here.
Like, I think it helps Tyrell Williams and Mike Williams, whoever. Like I don't know if. I feel like in this offense, the target share for Keenan Allen is just going to kind of stay the same. It's so high to begin with.
It would have to, because again, there was only 13 guys last season, receivers, who had at least 30% of their team targets inside the 10-yard line. And he was one of those 13. Like, he was, I believe, the 5th highest team target share inside the 10-yard line. Like, that number is not going to go higher. You can subtract pieces, but I just think you get to a point of diminishing returns. Like, it's sort of the Jimmy Graham argument, which is like, Jimmy Graham's in this great situation with Aaron Rodgers now. It's like, he led the NFL in red zone targets. Like,
well, that's a nice segue into, for me, Doug Baldwin, who, I mean, Tim actually had him ranked higher than me, which is just craziness.
I can see it.
Yeah, I can see it too. I mean, you got to talk to an insane person if I want an insane ranking. But
well, yes, you're right. How dare I not have exactly the conventional ADP ranks? How dare I have a mind of my own? You're right.
Thank you. Thank you for finally admitting it is probably the first step, Tim, to regaining your sanity. But we'll see about that. With Doug Baldwin, I just see how much was left on the table. Paul Richardson's gone. Jimmy Graham is gone. Before Jimmy Graham got there, Doug Baldwin was quite active member of the red zone team in Seattle. And Seattle, their defense might not be so hot. They might be trailing in a lot of these games, which means Russell Wilson might actually have to throw more. And now you're just creating a gigantic void in terms of overall targets and red zone targets, which Doug Baldwin is the best receiver on this team. I just think that volume-wise, the case that I'm going to make for Doug Baldwin this year is a lot like the case that I made for Mike Evans 2 years ago. Who is taking away his targets? They might not be good. He might not even be good. But he might end up with 150 looks. And if that's the case, he's going to be a top 10 guy and potentially a top 5 guy.
Yeah. They clearly don't have a entrenched running game. They are probably going to be closer to the 60% pass ratio end of the spectrum than they are to like the 52, 51%
might even
end.
be higher than that.
Well, I mean, the Lions tend to lead the league around like 63, so there's not a whole lot higher you can go. But yeah, they're going to be in the top 10 in terms of pass ratio. They're going to be scoring. I would argue they're probably a top 10 offense in football, whether that's out of just pure necessity of scoring garbage time points.
I would just say that they're average. They're an average offense. They might score a little bit.
But I just think out of like game script, they might find themselves, as you were saying, in situations where they might score points just out of the necessity of the game script. There might be some high-scoring, up-tempo games in Seattle this year. Yeah, he's going to have a huge percentage of these targets.
I would say that this is the boldest wide receiver rank that I've made, especially compared to ADP, because he's basically an early third-round pick. And the reason that I ranked him here kind of correlates to my overall rankings. I didn't have to rank him, but I believe I had him at 13 overall. But his ADP right now, if you look at it, he's going around pick 25. So I know that if I'm at the turn and I like Doug Baldwin more than I like Davante Adams and AJ Green, and all the rest of the guys are gone, which they might not be, who knows, that I know that he's not making it back to me at the end of the third round. So inherently, by my own rankings, that's where I would have to take him, and I would be fine with it. I mean, it's not ideal. This is why I would prefer to pick like 4th in a draft.
Yeah.
And then I could take him just solidly in the third round, and that would be way better in terms of value for Doug Baldwin, because by taking him at where I have him ranked, you've factored out a lot of his upside. Like, you've really priced that in. But I'm okay with that because I think he gets there.
Look, again, it's a cross-sport reference at this point, but I would say trusting your gut is important in these situations, even if you do think that by someone's ADP they could possibly fall to you in a later round. Like I found this year with baseball, I was exceedingly high on, well, I mean, the Cleveland Indians sort of in general, but Jose Ramirez, who I thought could honestly be the second or third best player in fantasy baseball.
Didn't get him in our league.
Didn't get him in any league because I kept thinking, hey, this guy will fall to 20, and it just never kind of lined up with where I was positioned in the draft. Go get your guy. Like, it's really a mantra of all fantasy.
Yeah, but you can get Doug, like I said, if you pick at number
of course
3
you can,
overall,
yes.
you're getting Doug Baldwin in the third round.
If you're in the second round and you want Doug Baldwin, you're probably going to get Doug Baldwin.
Yeah, oh no, for sure.
Yeah.
But like if you pick number 12 in a 12-team league,
yes,
he is not available to you in round 3. Like
no,
that's just off
it's
the
not
board. So
getting
you
to
have
36.
to take
yes.
him.
But that's what I'm saying. I think if you truly feel that way, I would endorse the philosophy of, yeah, I can see the argument why you would think that. Yeah, I mean, I look at the list and look, everyone you have behind him, Davante Adams, I mean, again, a direct correlation to the Jimmy Graham in the room. I kind of think Jimmy's done. I think he's pretty washed.
I think he might catch 10 touchdowns and still be washed.
Yeah, because he did last season.
Yeah. I don't expect anything. There's going to be a lot of weeks where Jimmy Graham has 1 fantasy point.
Exactly, and I will not have Jimmy Graham on any of my teams this season, but it's going to affect Davante Adams. I think Davante Adams is still a great situation.
I see. The reason that I have Davante Adams behind Doug Baldwin is because I actually do like Randall Cobb. Randall Cobb's a guy that I'm going to target in a lot of leagues. He's going to pick 80 something. Like he's just, you can pick him as wide receiver 4, potentially wide receiver 5, depending on as you go. And in a PPR league, I think he can be a viable weekly wide receiver 3 type player. And if I'm going to be targeting so much Randall Cobb, I don't really want to own that much Davante Adams. You know what I mean?
Look, I mean, I'm not saying anything exceedingly negative about Davante Adams. I think if you like him as a top 5 receiver, that's fine too. I just think that, like you said, he's not going to be able to maintain. One of these two things has to fall. And I look at Jimmy Graham, and I feel like at this point, he's almost a red zone specialist.
Yeah.
Like he's not quite Antonio Gates, but he's a lot closer to Antonio Gates than people give him credit for. Like, his yards per target last season was atrocious. He's a specialist. And that is going to affect the red zone target share of Davante Adams.
Tim, how do you feel about AJ Green? Because we discussed this a little bit on the running back show. I discussed it with Silva a little bit, that everyone's just owned AJ Green at this point, and people just want to own someone else. I'm kind of in that same camp too. He's going to have his 13 catches for 200-yard, 3 touchdown game, and then he's going to have weeks where he's just 5 for 50 because this offense isn't very good.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that there's a lack of luster when it comes to AJ Green.
There's also a weird lack of consistency as well.
Sure, but I mean, if you look at his yearly stats, by the end of it, he gets where you need to be. I get it. He's feast or famine. That's for sure. But he's still better than all those receivers below him. Like, he's still a top 10 receiver, or at least he ought to be. Like, if you put him up,
I have him at number 9.
Yeah, and so I agree with you. I'm on board with you. You put him up against someone like, I don't know, Amari Cooper, or you put him up against Adam Thielen, I would far rather have AJ Green. Now, there's somebody you have way, way lower than this I would have cracking your top 10 that I forgot to mention, but maybe we'll save that.
No, you could go for it right now.
This would be the time.
We're talking about the top 10. Who is that guy in the top 10 for you then?
Josh Gordon. Pretty, the way he looks, the way every report I read is, the way that the Browns are going to be trying to get the absolute most out of what they have Tyrod to start, and then they have Baker Mayfield probably coming in. Josh Gordon has everything to prove. He's keeping his nose clean. He's staying in shape. I mean, I'm shocked you're so low on him. We saw from him last year when he played, he immediately looked like the Josh Gordon of old. Like, I want everything to do with Josh Gordon. And if you can get him as what you have him here, what number do you have him at, sorry, in your ranks?
23 to 21.
21, so like we're talking third or fourth round.
Yeah, but that's where I have him ranked. If you go look at the ADPs, he's going he's going at the Doug Baldwin range.
Yeah, like
he's going at the very beginning of the third round.
That's still darn good value. His ADP is 28 overall.
My worry here would just be though that
the Browns stink.
Well, the Browns.
I'm not so sure.
People are all in on the Browns now.
I'm not saying
just
all
wait till
in.
you fucking watch them. They're gonna be awful.
I just think they are like they're like a 6-win team. Which when you're the Browns,
that's 6, 7, 8 win team.
Terrible.
6, 7, 8 win team.
I mean that's
if everything breaks right, they can go 8 and 8.
But you hate Tyrod Taylor.
But this is the thing, Tyrod Taylor. I'm not sure if it was necessarily the system or the coaches that had him, but Tyrod Taylor has never been in a system. No offensive coordinator has ever looked at Tyrod Taylor and said this guy needs to throw the ball 30 times a game. He just doesn't do it. And that really starts eating into a target share where, I mean, there's not a want for weapons here. Maybe you don't necessarily like all the weapons, but there's a reason that like Jarvis Landry's ADP has gone down like 2 full rounds in a PPR.
I don't love Jarvis Landry.
Well, I know you've never loved Jarvis.
But I mean, like, let's say he does. Like, I mean, I have him at what do I have him at? 24. Might even be a bit too high. Like, he's someone I can see myself being more down on than that. Because what if he doesn't get the same target share as he got in Miami? What happens then?
Well, that's the thing. I don't think he will, just for the sheer sake that the Dolphins actually had an exceedingly high pass ratio last season. And I don't look at this Browns team as a team that's going to throw the football, or they don't want to throw the football that much. I don't think they do. Gordon
is going to have to rely on an extreme amount of efficiency if he wants to sniff the top 10. So, like, guys that I know we skipped over a bunch of guys, but I have Chris Hogan 2 spots ahead of Josh Gordon. And a lot of this has to do with health, but if you're telling me they both play 16 games, why wouldn't Chris Hogan outscore him?
We assume Josh Gordon is a transformational sort of talented wide receiver.
No, that's what you assume.
Yeah, it is something
that's the argument you would put into it, though. That Josh Gordon is clearly
so
the more
good
talented
that he can
of the two.
Sure, if you're talking about physical skills, although Chris Hogan, he's 7'11", he's always open.
I like Chris Hogan.
He's fine,
that has to count for something.
But you say, like, let's hypothetically say these guys play 16 games. I realize that putting anyone up against Josh Gordon going, Josh Gordon's going to play more games is a fool's gold.
We're assuming all these guys, except for Julian Edelman, who's already suspended, is going to play 16 games.
But, I mean, Chris Hogan's never stayed healthy. At least you could say the Josh Gordon stuff is self-induced.
Indeed.
I would, of the two, again, like, it's a weird conversation to have because Hogan is offering you so much more value at where he's being drafted that it doesn't really matter anyway.
Sure, these guys aren't going around each other. But I actually think that if you took all rounds out of it and be like, hey, you just need to draft players, I would take Chris Hogan.
Okay, I would take Josh Gordon. But I think that it's a different conversation if you're talking about who has more value, because Chris Hogan has more value.
He has way more value. But just objectively, I think that he's going to score more fantasy. Like,
I would say no.
What's left in New England? You have Gronk, you got Rex Burkhead, who's top notch, you have Chris Hogan. When Chris Hogan
I mean, Edelman's going to come back.
Sure, but
not be relevant.
Well, then I'm surprised you're not on the Chris Hogan side.
I like Chris Hogan a lot. It's annoying for me that that's the guy he chose to put up Gordon against, because I rather like Chris Hogan this season quite a bit too. Not as much. I would, by a little bit, take Josh Gordon, but I like Chris Hogan quite a bit.
I have Julian Edelman at 33, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah,
that might even be a bit low. Well, why wouldn't he just be Julian Edelman when he comes back, and then he's a PPR? So you can't have it both ways. So you said you can't draft Saquon Barkley because I don't know how he could be at the NFL level. He might not be any good. I need to see it first. Well, the last time you saw fucking Julian Edelman, he was good. So why is he now bad?
And Barkley's got to do with the value of round that he's going in. That you'd have to set on fire a first round. You can roll your eyes all you want, but what I'm saying is integral to understand the point. Julian Edelman is coming off a complete missed season from a devastating injury, and now he's being suspended for PED use in a Patriots offense that actually has
perfect. He's on PEDs. This is excellent news.
Washed up wide receiver. I want nothing to do with him. He's like he's like Wes Welker's last legs. He just isn't relevant.
But you don't know that. You haven't seen him.
Well, no one knows for a fact the games don't play out for another 2 months. All we can do is speculate. And my speculation is that this oft injured, coming off of a severe injury and suspended player is not in Bill Belichick's good graces. And even if he hadn't been suspended, probably wasn't going to matter that much anyway. I made this point on the running back show. You don't trade away Brandon Cooks, who was your best wide receiver, if you don't think there are other receivers on the team who can take advantage of his
But when they traded him away, he wasn't suspended yet. So wouldn't that logic dictate that Bill Belichick thought he would be fine?
Cooks is nothing like Edelman. Those two receivers are not similar. Cooks and Edelman play wholly different types of receiver.
Well, who's Cooks? Who have they brought in that is Brandon Cooks?
They didn't bring in anybody. They have great faith.
So then what does this argument matter?
Hogan and Dorsett.
Dorsett! All right, so I listen, we made some bets on the running back show, so I want the bet right now. Julian Edelman outscores Philip Dorsett. And you can, listen, he's suspended 3 games, and apparently he's not any good anyway, so why not make the bet?
I think it's going to be so very close.
Then I'll give you even money on it.
Yeah, I'll actually take that. I don't think Edelman's going to be relevant. I think it's sheer madness to think that Julian Edelman is going to have you're just, again, it's wish casting. Oh, this guy who hasn't played a year and a half coming off a terrible injury and a suspension. It's the same...
Philip Dorsett had the most wide open opportunity.
What's that? Hey, Paul behind the camera wants to know if he can get in on that bet too.
I'm now looking at my bet against you, which is like our.
Now we're back to the Brady is done argument.
Sooner or later.
His quarterback doesn't want to be on the team.
Then why do you like Chris Hogan?
Pardon me, because he still has to pull the ball.
Philip Dorsett.
Because those guys at least are deep threat. You've got a quarterback who's already looking for the exit ramp. He was talking about it openly.
Yeah, because, that's the thing with Tom Brady is he's always looking to throw it deep. That's...
Well, yeah, when he has played his best quarterback...
5-step drop Tom Brady.
When he has played his best football, it has been off the deep ball.
Yeah, but according to you, his best days are behind him. He can't throw it deep anymore.
It is, but when you're losing at your step, what do you try to go to? The thing you know best, the thing you're most comfortable with.
Which is 2-step drops and getting the ball out, especially the fact they just lost their left tackle.
Do you know what it is? It's throwing to Julian Edelman!
I'm going to make this point if it kills you. The idea is you cover up these problems by going deep to get big chunk plays because you're not able to get the 15, 20, 17-yard outs. You have to make big plays to catch up. That's my theory of the case. That's what I'm going with.
Just a reminder to everyone out there watching this show, there's probably at least 4 people in your league that think the same way as Tim does.
4 might be a lot.
He's a man of the people. I guess
he is
2,
a man of the people.
We'll say 2.
Well, you just need 2 for people.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Did not expect the show to go there.
No, I thought we'd get there sooner or later. Not in that way though.
So far we have Edelman versus Dorsett PPR fantasy points at even money. We have I have Saquon Barkley to outscore Jerick McKinnon at even money against him, and then I have Rex Burkhead 2-1 to beat Sony Michel in PPR scoring. That's the only one that seems like.
Why did I make a bet against you? I should have made a bet against
Tim. Yeah, you bet me that Jordan Howard would score 50.5 more points. Or more than 50 points. So 50.5 is the over-under.
Yeah.
So plus 50.5 for me, or 49.5 for me.
Yeah.
For Marshawn Lynch versus Jordan Howard in PPR scoring. So those are the 4 bets that are on the board right now. Let's go back to the top here, because we talked about the top end. Do we have any Julio Jones thoughts beside the fact that he's really good? And that people, get mad he don't score touchdowns.
You would have to assume that if like we said in the running back show, if we realize that the true Atlanta Falcons are somewhere in between the 34 points they scored in 2016 and the 21 points they scored in 2017, there's a lot of touchdown regression coming for this squad. And you'd have to assume most of that is directed at Julio Jones.
Or Freeman or whoever.
But somebody.
So let's put up Julio stats from last season. Just look at them. Just very closely, just for a second. He averaged 15.7 PPR points per game. And he scored 3 touchdowns. What is he, the only guy in history? He's one of 3 guys in history to have over 1,400 yards in 3 straight years. This is a bad season for Julio Jones. 19 red zone targets, 1 touchdown.
That's ridiculous.
Like, give your head a shake, people. Like, there are never Julio people out there. Julio's a fine, and you can get him in the second round. Get him in the second round. How good could your team be?
There are people out there who have Julio outside their top 10 at wide receiver.
How is that possible?
'Cause
Unless
he's
Josh
old.
Gordon's going to be number
Because
one.
He's getting old.
He's the same age as AJ Green.
He's not a red zone threat. So ridiculous.
And Michael Thomas is just bleh. He's number 4 because he's good in a good offense, and he's their guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Michael Thomas.
Yeah, he is
everyone
a
likes him.
exceedingly high floor wide receiver. And usually you say floor in a bad way. That has like a negative connotation. No. Michael Thomas has like a very, 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 very high floor. Michael Thomas's floor is the ceiling for a lot of receivers.
Yeah. So this next level, starting at number 10, I have Stefan Diggs, Mike Evans, T.Y. Hilton, and Adam. I got a feeling. Ooh. But
That Evans Hilton tier.
Yeah. I mean, Hilton's all dependent on luck. Like,
Yeah, I know.
And I ranked him as if luck's going to be like, all right, and if that's the case, you're getting a steal on T.Y. Hilton.
Oh, sure, of course.
And Mike Evans terrifies me.
I don't think I'm going to have him.
I like Stefan Diggs, though.
See, Mike Evans is the kind of guy that you end last season and you hope that maybe the price tag has fallen to a point where you're like, I'm willing to take that risk.
And
it didn't go down.
And I thought
for me.
after Jameis got suspended that Mike Evans would drop too, and it didn't.
still not
Which
bad.
is smart because I don't think that he's really detrimentally affected by Fitzmagic versus Jameis Winston for 3 games.
But the price, there's not enough of a bounce back buying window for me to want to get excited about Mike Evans.
Like, you get him up to 10.
I'm passing on all these guys.
I like Diggs. Diggs
He's got a bad quarterback, and an offense it's going to take a big step backwards this year.
I don't think Kirk Cousins is a bad quarterback.
Well, here's the thing.
Oh, I know why.
So here's the thing. We talked about this. Tim joined me on Super Bowl Radio Row when we were there, and I got him to rank his top 10 quarterbacks by talent in the league. Kirk Cousins was number 5 on that list because he was going to sign with the Jets.
I remember.
But then he signed with the Vikings, and now he's awful.
I was wrong then.
pretty
I'm
good
right now.
synopsis.
Again, showing some growth.
What if he had went to Notre Dame? How would that wrench be thrown into this?
I don't think about those things.
Did he beat Notre Dame?
He was on the team when the coach ran that fake field goal touchdown.
He was. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Then had a heart attack the next year.
Not next year, like a week later.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So Stefan Diggs, I think, is more risky than Adam Thielen on the same team.
He's okay, but
But I think if someone's going to like bust out from that Minnesota team, Diggs is the one that I have started. He's the one. He's in a contract year too. Can't overlook these things.
Do you feel like anyone's going to break out though? I think
Yeah,
they have a nice.
I don't know.
Timeshare.
I don't know if one of them will. I have a feeling that if one of them does, it's Diggs.
And look, that's fine. I just think it's a game you don't really have to play. Like, I think this is an offense that can sustain 2 top 15 wide receivers. Like, I don't think you have to worry about these guys.
No, but I don't think you're going to draft both of them.
No,
so
probably
when it
not.
So when it comes down to it, you pick one or you pick the other. I'm picking Diggs.
Right now, who's got the higher ADP?
I
Thielen.
believe it's Thielen.
Yeah,
But I
fine.
think they're very close.
They are close, yes. But that's, for me, they're so interchangeable that whichever one you're getting later, I think is fine. Like, I really don't worry that this offense can't sustain 2 wide receivers at that level.
Would you have any interest in T.Y. Hilton?
I would have. Luck is
yeah.
fine.
I mean,
Luck is
it's all
playing.
tied to luck.
Yeah, well, if he's actually, we'll see if he actually plays in the preseason. I have to see him play. If he doesn't play preseason games, they just say, "Oh, we're just going to hold him back for week 1." No, at that point, I'll walk.
Well, I mean, again, we saw what Hilton was without luck.
He was wide receiver like 26.
That's
But
what I mean.
a lot of that was prescient on 3 massive games
/ home games because he was very good at home,
he was
very
good in
poor
the
on the
dome,
road.
Yeah.
But if that's the downside of T.Y. Hilton, he's like wide receiver 26 and he's a boomer bust
But again,
guy.
it's not even that he's boomer bust. Like he was unusable the second half of the season.
Sure. But again, listen, he had 10 red zone targets, no touchdowns on them.
I just think if you look,
Only 4 touchdowns
if you're asking me
overall.
right now, between Thielen and Hilton, who has the higher upside? Sure, it's Hilton. But I don't think the difference between their upsides is near enough to make me go, oh, I'm just going to ignore the difference between their floors.
But again, this is why updated rankings will come in and once we
Sure.
learn something about
Yeah.
Luck. But if you're drafting today, I would roll the dice on Andrew Luck being healthy. I'd also draft Andrew Luck. And
Yes, but I think that's a different conversation.
It is a different conversation because that's what you want to do
You
with
can
quarterback.
recoup at quarterback a whole lot
Sure.
more easy.
But I think Hilton's floor potentially for total fantasy points, because he can be a game breaker for you too, and maybe you can find someone else deeper down that can help you tread the water. But if you do hit and luck is back,
Laquan Treadwell the water?
it might be Kendall Wright. Kendall Wright might be like the third receiver instead of Treadwell.
Probably.
In Minnesota.
Treadwell's not doing a whole lot.
All right, next tier. Larry Fitzgerald leads it off. He's number 14. Juju is right after him. Allen Robinson, Demarius Thomas, Amari Cooper, Chris Hollywood Hogan, Marv Jones, Josh Gordon, Alshon Jeffrey, Tyreek Hill. This was the worst tier for me in terms of figuring out where these guys go, so I just threw them all in one tier.
It's a jumble.
The jumbles. I love the jumbles. But, I mean, I've already said I really like Chris Hogan. I think the opportunity for Amari Cooper is probably larger.
In that sense, though, just because there are so many just wild cards in this tier, I would argue that Fitz deserves to be in that next tier up. Like, I think he is more... I find more similarities between him and Thielen than I do with, like,
I think there's an upside difference between Thielen and Larry Fitzgerald. I do.
But in a PPR, like...
Thielen could rival him in catches, and I think that the yardage for Thielen is going to be higher than
he
the touchdown
will have more
potential.
yards, sure. But again, I think that the separation between Thielen and Fitz is far different than how I view the separation between Fitz and Juju. I think Fitz is a lot closer.
I think if
to
we're talking about
all those guys,
I'm gonna say if we're talking about like upside, I know there's.
Oh no, I don't even mean upside. I mean baking everything in.
Yeah, but are you baking in just old age regression from Larry Fitzgerald? Because that's on the table. You can't deny that's not a thing.
It's definitely a thing.
And what you guys talked about on the running back show with Sam Bradford or Josh Rosen, a new offensive system, how good is the system going to be? I think it actually might benefit Larry Fitzgerald a little bit.
Very conducive to his game.
But if they're not great, I mean, I don't think that affects David Johnson as much as it would affect Larry Fitzgerald.
That would be true, because Johnson can be independent of this. But no, I would still argue that just because there is so much uncertainty in this tier, I think Fitz, aside from the age thing, and I guess I'm showing my hand here because back on the running back show, I thought a similar thing about LaShawn McCoy. Maybe I am buying in a year too late. But until he doesn't catch 100 passes, I don't know.
I don't think that 14 is like a low ranking.
No,
for
I'm
Fitzgerald.
just saying in the tiered sense. I just think he's in the third tier. He's the back end of the third tier as opposed
Well, why
to
don't you make your own goddamn tiers then, Garion? Oh, wait,
we're here to argue, are we not?
No, that's what you're doing, isn't it?
Believe me, making lists with tiers is harder than it looks.
You are a god amongst men, Tim.
I know. Yeah, I kind of invented it.
But like Demarius Thomas, I see on a very similar track as Larry Fitzgerald. But I think that he just gets Emmanuel Sanders is probably a better pick value-wise than Demarius Thomas.
But I think DT has a lot of value.
So do I. He didn't get 100 catches.
I don't think people realize how good a season Case Keenum had, and I don't want to overstep my bounds into like Case Keenum's a top 10 quarterback or anything.
But compare him to Trevor Siemian. Very good.
And even just in like strange things, like there were only 2 quarterbacks last season to have a positive DVOA mark under pressure. Obviously, Tom Brady did it, and Case Keenum did it. Like, he can work in systems. He's a very good quarterback. Or he's a capable. Good might not be the word. Capable. He's a very capable quarterback. And
good.
And if there's a team, if he could have, the Vikings are a better situation. I don't think anyone's denying that.
And they chose to get worse and let Denver get better.
So you think that Case Keenum's better than Kirk Cousins?
That is false.
That is what I think.
But I was just going to say, to wrap up my point quickly, I just think that he's going from a system where he had 2 very reliable wide receivers into a system where he still has 2 very reliable wide receivers. And I think DT is at a place where people perceive him to be like 35 years old or something.
Yeah.
It's his 6th year in the league.
People are treating him like he's Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
But, people are saying they draft a receiver. Oh, he's the clear Demarius.
Well, he's sort of the AJ Green of this tier.
Yeah.
I think everyone's had their chance with DT.
Like, look at what he did last year. 83 catches, 950 yards, 5 touchdowns, 141 targets. I don't think that target share is going down, but he just has better people. He has a better person throwing the ball.
Yeah.
And I think Sanders, who was dealing with a high ankle sprain and shitty quarterbacks, is someone that is going to be a pretty decent value too.
I agree.
Like, I would say, for me, I'd have DT over Allen Robinson. Because I think
I can't figure out Allen Robinson. I just don't want him to go full. And maybe I should move Allen Robinson down to Alshon Jeffrey.
Here's my thing with Allen Robinson. Because there's so many question marks, I just ask myself, what sort of situation does Allen Robinson need to be in to thrive? He needs 150 targets to catch 75 passes.
But it was also Blake Bortles throwing him the ball a lot of that time.
But he also, even with the low catch rate, and if you want to say it's a Corey Davis situation where Mariota wasn't even getting the passes close, he still dropped 17 passes across those
Now,
two
I will
seasons.
give Allen Robinson some outs on this one because I remember during like the bounce back, like
Sure,
he had the
catch
big
radius, if you get close, they count.
No, but it wasn't even that because they were catchable targets, 100%. But like Blake Bortles would do these weird things. It's like when you're playing Madden and you have a receiver standing like 5 yards in front of you and you just throw the ball as hard as you can at like their knees.
True.
Technically, that's a catchable target, but it was not catchable. That's what Blake Bortles was doing to Allen Robinson.
But these aren't even the catchable target. Like, catch ratio takes that into account. I'm just saying pure dropped passes, like old school dropped passes that like ESPN records. 17 of those. And I look at this team, you're talking about a Bears team. Sure, they bring in a new head coach, an offensive-minded head coach, a quarterback guru, I guess. Probably going to throw the ball a little bit more.
Well, yes, they're going to throw the ball.
Because they couldn't throw it less.
Yeah.
But he's going, you have a volume-dependent receiver in an offense that had the lowest pass ratio of any team last season.
So only going up. Stock is rising.
I guess.
Trending up.
It's not as if the cupboard is bare for these wide receivers.
He's having a coughing fit over there?
Bit, yeah. I don't, he's another guy in the vein of like, Fournette. I just know I'm not going to have any.
I'm just looking at it now, and this is why we're here. We're here to talk to him. I was sorry for getting mad at you.
That's okay.
I was treating you like I treat Tim, which is not fair. I should have him around Alshon Jeffrey.
Yeah, no, Alshon is actually the perfect.
Kind of the exact
same guy.
Yeah,
although
so
Alshon.
I'm going to move. I have Alshon Jeffrey at 23, 22. Would you rather have Alshon or would you rather have Allen Robinson?
Alshon. Better offense.
Yeah, but I have a feeling that there's the path for more volume for Allen Robinson in Chicago than
fair.
Alshon is probably going to have with the Eagles.
And in terms of
and Alshon wouldn't shake my hand.
Probably to his benefit because he caught a touchdown.
True. Alshon also
Super
can't
Bowl.
shake cornerbacks. Somewhat to his detriment, of all qualified wide receivers, had the lowest amount of separation last season on routes run.
But then he refused to shake Tim's hand. All of a sudden, he might be good
his
again.
stock's going up. Yeah.
Trending up again. So I'm going to move Allen Robinson down to one spot above Alshon Jeffrey. That will put him at number 21. And that's behind Josh Gordon. Because now that I think about it, I would take Josh Gordon over Allen Robinson. Amari Cooper's there. You like Amari Cooper?
Tim does.
Trash.
You
Trash.
I thought you said you liked him earlier this show.
No, but now he hates the Raiders this year for the first time.
Oh, right. That's true.
No, I want no Raiders. Particularly not him.
What about
There's
Insta
a
Raiders?
Insta fan enough.
We might have fewer Insta Raiders with John Gruden
They'll
as
all
head
be
coach.
grinders.
They will all
there
be
will be.
grinders. I ranked Jordy Nelson number 1 in worst place
Yeah,
at
what happened?
receiver.
What happened to get there?
He's
I
trash.
actually kind of like Jordy Nelson. I
He's
have to say, if
trash.
I were
So wait.
to own a Raider, I
How
think
did,
that's
how
the
did we go
right-
in 5 seconds from I hate all Raiders, I want no part of them?
I had forgotten about him. I had made a proclamation on Twitter recently. You
What?
know, it was a bit of a hot take, but I thought he'd be a Pro Bowler this year.
Oh.
I'm not prepared to moonwalk that yet.
Well,
I
in
just made it,
Tim's defense, the precipice of being a Pro Bowler is not exactly amazing.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know.
About
Just if he-
76 receivers get to go to the Pro Bowl.
if there were anybody-
But Tim likes the Pro Bowl. He ranked as a better All-Star game than the NBA All-Star game.
Yeah, but they're both bad. So I mean, you take either or, I suppose. They're
And
both bad.
his argument about basketball was that, the reason I like baseball so much, and this was, he kind of left the Pro Bowl out of this for some reason. Like, I used to love it when, the one expo would make every team, and I could watch the All-Star game. The people would know about my player. You know how many Jets made the Pro Bowl last year? 0.
I didn't even know that. That's not a grievance that I bear.
I guess it was usually like Nick Mangold. That's about it.
Nice guy. Met him at Radio Row.
There you go.
We ate chicken wings together.
He seems like a guy who would enjoy a chicken wing.
He did. He just scarfed it right down.
Oh, okay.
So
Grievance was in multiple Pro Bowls.
So I have Jordy Nelson number 1 in worst place. Number 2 is Kelvin Benjamin, by the way.
That is fair. That is
I like him too.
that.
Oh
that
my
was
god,
sort
your
of-
team is going to be so fucking awful in our keeper league.
But when you see a stat and you're like, I don't really know what this means. Like, I don't know if I can really say this is something that validates my thought process. And that stat about separation with Alshon Jeffrey, the only guy to also average less than 2 yards of separation was Kelvin Benjamin.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, this is a legit stat.
Do you know who leads the league in feet made out of cement? Kelvin Benjamin.
What about his hands?
Probably also cement.
Yeah, he has good hands.
Maybe he just doesn't have hands.
Oh. That's inspiring.
That could be that. He's a hero. That could be a problem. So I got Evan Silva to rank Jordy Nelson for me. He ranked him at 47. That was in between Will Fuller and Terrell Williams.
Yeah, I like both those guys better than him, actually. That's what I think of it. Will Fuller, in particular, if he stay healthy, he'd be an excellent player. And Williams has got a really good situation. So
I will say, before we trash him for the Notre Dame thing, I mean,
I didn't even
small
think of
sample. Yes, you did. Small sample. But
he's on pace for 11 billion touchdowns.
Well, I mean that. But I just mean in the sense of like whether you go by ADOT, whether you go by air yards, Deshaun Watson clearly liked to throw to really let it rip, and Will Fuller has one route. It's straight. So there is the opportunity. Will Fuller is kind of like when you felt good about Deshaun Jackson every other year.
Yeah.
He's kind of in
or
that.
Santana Moss.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have nothing against Will Fuller, but I like, especially in PPR scoring, I'd have him ranked higher than standard.
Oh,
for
standard.
Sure.
He's definitely.
But
a
like, there's
receiver.
a certain baseline that I want, and maybe I'm just wrong about Will Fuller. Maybe he'll just be a big part of this offense, and maybe he'll catch one touchdown every three targets.
Is Steven Anderson going to be their tight end, or did they sign a tight end?
No, it's Steven Anderson right now. I think they drafted someone, but Fedorowicz retired.
That's
Ryan Griffin
probably for the
dealing
best.
with like case of the dizzies always.
Oh, he caught it. He caught Fedorowicz.
Yeah, Fedorowicz retired, so now he has all the concussions. Steven Anderson I like Steven Anderson. I think just from a athletic standpoint, Steven Anderson's very good. I just don't know if he's a great football player is the problem.
Yeah.
Just one of those athletes that hey, you're super athletic. You should play football because you're huge.
Yeah.
Eventually, and someone will eventually teach him how to play football. I don't know if that's in the cards for him yet. Anyway, we've gone off track here. So I will move Allen Robinson down to one spot above Alshon Jeffrey, and I still have Tyreek Hill right after him. I just feel like there's too many mouths to feed. And I think it impacts Tyreek Hill the most because he relies so much on big plays. I'm not saying he can't have big plays.
Big plays
or that
are fine,
and that he can be an outlier again.
Every touchdown was a big play.
And now that you have Sammy Watkins there is not the same receiver, but he's going to get some of those downfield targets as well. It's not like Sammy Watkins is going to come in and all of a sudden he just has Albert Wilson's role. It's going to be bigger than that.
Yeah.
And you have a brand new quarterback who might just like Sammy better. Who knows?
Apparently, what was the Roto World report? The electricity is real or something?
Yeah.
Something corny.
Have you ever heard a negative report about Sammy Watkins?
I was going to say,
during training camp,
I was going to say, have you ever heard? I thought you were going to ask me, have you ever heard a negative Roto World report? And I was like, just one, and it was about Christian Hackenberg.
Who?
Potential Patriots backup, Christian Hackenberg.
I can't wait till he beats the Jets in Week 17.
It's gonna be amazing.
It's going to be my favorite thing ever.
We have to put.
Do they play the Jets Week 17 this year, Tim?
Yes.
Then this year, even better.
I think Brian Hoyer's their backup.
Yeah, but you think Belichick won't be putting Hackencuss in that game?
Tim
got nothing to play for.
Yeah, because the Patriots will be out of it by that
That's true.
point.
The Jets will clinch the AFC East by that game.
So Hill, listen, he's fine. He's like the major league version of Will Fuller.
Yeah, he's a rich man's Will Fuller.
Yeah, and if you want to play on the strategy that you're a big risk type person, you want to pair Tyreek Hill with like Gronk and just other risky guys, then that is the strategy.
It's unfortunate that you can't, because they're so bad this year that you can't roster them in almost any circumstance. But it's unfortunate you can't do the thing where you pair Tyreek Hill with Kansas City defense special teams and go for dub touchdowns. Because that's not a terrible move. It is this season because they're a ridiculously horrendous
Still
defense.
a DraftKings move.
But still a DraftKings move, yeah.
Like 75 catches last year on 105 targets. I feel like both those things come down.
But again, 4 red zone targets.
And 8 touchdowns.
8 touchdowns.
Listen,
don't compare his numbers to Julio Jones's and your head explodes. It just... He's a skilled player. He's an explosive player. But yeah, in a PPR where volume matters so much, he's not someone who's really on my... He's not someone who's a target of mine.
Hidden in this tier is just Marvin Jones, who's just been... After he had the huge start the one year, then went away, and then kind of came back. Last year, he developed very good consistency. And that's the reason I have Golden Tate so far down on this list, is just when you went back and looked at the game logs, Tate ended up with like all right numbers, but he was spotty week to week. Marvin Jones wasn't.
Well, I mean, because again, Tate still led the league in missed tackles last season, but the problem is with where he runs his route tree, to have big plays, he has to lead the league in missed tackles. Like, you don't want that to be a necessity of the player that you own. And it was kind of weird because we saw the Lions go through a very specific change in their offensive philosophy where they were checking down a whole lot more. Like, Stafford's ADOT went way down below 8 yards. And at the time, it did seem like that was very conducive to Golden Tate's game. But yeah, after about 2 or 3 quiet weeks, Marvin Jones really emerged in the second half. And he clearly has the higher ceiling of the two.
Yeah, and Kenny Galladay is still going to be there. I think that would impact Marv more than it would impact Golden Tate, but it seems like there's just sort of a baseline for Tate. Like, I have him at number 28. Like, it's not like I hate Golden Tate, but I think that there is, especially if you're playing for upside purposes, the upside with Marvin Jones and the touchdowns that he can bring, the long touchdowns. It's not like he's going weeks where he has 2 targets. That doesn't happen to him.
Yeah.
So I like Marvin Jones a lot. I think he's part of this next year. So 24 to 31. We got Jarvis Landry, who I really want to move down, like I talked about. Pierre Garcon,
I don't know.
Michael Crab people, Corey Davis, Golden Tate, Randall Cobb, Jamison Crowder, and Sammy Watkins. Tim, you have thoughts about this tier?
It's hard to say. I mean, I like Jamison Crowder.
Crowder.
Yeah, I like him.
Crowder.
I think both he and Richardson are going to have very nice seasons.
P. Rich?
Yeah. Oh, I think Richardson in particular might be one of the, and it's not just you, it's everybody. I think he's one of the most chronically underrated receivers in fantasy coming into this season. There's just so little competition on that team for receptions that he should eat. And I think Crowder will eat as well. I really like.
I just think Alex Smith's skill set, I think Jamison Crowder. Crowder and Reed before he falls down the stairs.
I agree. I would have Crowder well ahead, as you do. So that's why I like Crowder quite a bit. Of that group, of all these guys, if I had to pick any of them, yeah, it probably would be Crowder. You made the case with Tate. He's too feast or famine. Corey Davis, again, if Mariota can get things going.
Mariota.
It always sounded more Japanese than Italian to me.
Oh, I always thought it sounded Italian to me.
Crabtree's a write-off.
I don't think that Crabtree is a write-off. I really don't.
You have to fight through it. I agree with you. Like on initial approach, you're like, God, I hate the Ravens' offense so much. But
he could be looking at he's probably the only player in the league who could potentially garner a 40% market share of targets.
I was going to say, I don't think there's a way that if Michael Crabtree plays 16 games, he doesn't have 120 targets.
He's going to have more than that.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, like 120 is already going to put him inside the top 15. So,
but he has to catch them.
They're not going to be deep targets. It's Joe Flacco.
You have to catch them.
Where did we get the impression that Michael Crabtree's not good all of a sudden?
He's not.
He was a Raider last season.
He has been better than Amari Cooper for the past 3 years.
Sure, and I don't like Amari Cooper. Like, I don't like either of those guys. I understand the Crabtree a new environment, but like Joe Flacco's no good. So, I don't know. You like him, great. Like, I think your ranking was okay. Like, that's reasonable. Just I don't like him that much.
I think he's someone you can grab a bit later than where I have him ranked.
He's going about the 7th round. Right
same as Randall Cobb, same as Jamison Crowder. I'm good with, and Pierre Garcon is the other one. Like, those 4 guys are all going substantially later than I have them going. Like, Pierre Garcon's going around pick 75, Crabtree around 65, Randall Cobb 85, Crowder 77. Like, if you want to wait on receiver a little bit and pick off 2 of those guys in rounds 7 and 8, 6 and 7, something like that, and build the back end of your receiving core, that means your running back core, tight end, you might have a good quarterback in there too already, along with one of the top receivers. I don't think that's the end of the world in the PPR league.
No, that's a good way to go. Yeah, I'm still.
I like Crowder better. I like Cooks better than him. Like,
Cooks is low.
I think Cooks is a little low too.
I mean, I'm not.
I have Cooks at 33.
I'm with you that I'm not with the general consensus of having Cooks be just like a back end 4th round pick. But,
no way I would take him there.
Well, that's where he's going.
I would.
So I'm saying I'm with you. I wouldn't take him there, but I think I would take him in the 5th.
I don't think that he necessarily outscores Cooper Kupp. I think it's more likely he scores
I don't think
Cooper
he has
Kupp, but I don't
outscore
think
him,
it's.
though. At the like.
I mean, he doesn't have to outscore him.
This is a team that scored 29 points per game last season. Like, again, I don't think just because he's basically going to inherit the Sammy Watkins role that he only gets 66 targets.
Sure, and listen, I have him ranked above.
No, you have Sammy above him.
You don't.
No, I have Sammy. I have him above Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. I have him as the number 1 receiver on the Rams by 1 spot over Cooper Kupp.
Fair. I just feel like there's going to be some. I don't think it's a massive separation of the pack, but I do think Cooks.
Well, this offense isn't sustaining the number 1 overall player and 3 receivers who are really good.
But I don't think they have to sustain all 3.
I think it's going to be spread around. You're going to have bad weeks with all of them.
Well, I mean, Cooks is already a pretty boomer bust guy.
He was surprisingly...
There were 6 weeks last season where he scored less than 10 points in a PPR.
I feel like that came all towards the beginning of the year.
No, it was spread out.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had a couple really bad weeks towards the
Like,
end.
Cooper Kupp is who they use in the red zone. They don't throw to tight ends. He is their red zone guy. And let's not overlook that if we want to talk about, like, schedules, especially out of the gate, if Brandon Cooks is identified as the number one receiver on the Rams, he has a shitload of good receivers or cornerbacks to deal with.
But I don't know if he's the kind of guy that you can shadow necessarily.
I think potentially you can.
I just feel like their receivers are so interchangeable in terms of where you can line them up on the field. I feel like that's not an issue I think they're going to run into.
Sammy Watkins ran into it last year.
Yeah, but Sammy, I don't think he has that eclectic a route tree. I know Andy Reid's trying to say he does, and we'll see. But I think the way they used Sammy was pretty indicative of you're the guy who's going to take the top off the defense. I think Cooks can be a little different.
But the big thing with Cooks was he can take the top off of defense, but so much of his PPR value is predicated on the fact that he ended up with a lot of catches every single season. He was getting these short catches, getting the long catches. I just don't think that the overall volume, because there's so many, you have 3 receivers to really deal with. And listen, Jared Goff's not Tom Brady.
And look, I'm with you. I'm not taking him in the 4th, but I think if he's still sitting there in the 5th, I'm interested. At the very least.
I'm still not. Just not. But Tim, you are? You like Brandon Cooks?
Yeah, I like him quite a bit. I mean, I love this Rams team. I think Goff's going to have an even better season than last. I mean,
that would be hard.
I know.
No, it wouldn't. I mean, he was the first overall draft pick. He should actually get better if he's to validate his draft position.
I mean, being the first overall draft pick is not exactly...
Yeah, you just said that Sam Darnold was better than Baker Mayfield.
When you're a quarterback, and you're the first overall pick, you better be a top 5 quarterback, or within, or the pick. It's hard to just.
That's not how this works.
I was going to say, Alex Smith has made quite a career.
Quarterbacks have their importance inflated and therefore go inside. Because again, if you look at this year's draft and tell me that 4 of the top 10 players in this draft, from a pure like football player standpoint, were quarterbacks, I call bullshit.
Sure,
it's just that teams need quarterbacks. They happen to take them first. It doesn't matter what they gave up. It's a sunk cost, Tim.
He has to be a top 5 quarterback.
He has to be good.
To validate the trade and validate his value. So I think
that's not his responsibility to validate that. It's not his destiny. It's not written in the stars.
Oh, no. Nothing is destined. I'm just saying if he's going to make the pick worthwhile, then he has to perform at that level.
You seem to think he's going to, but I don't think it's just something that has to happen.
I do think he is going to. No, nothing is inevitable in this world, but I do think he is going to. Yes, I think we're actually misunderstanding each other on that point.
You just said he's going to be even better than last year, and we said that it's hard for him to be better than he was last year. And you're like, he's definitely going to be better than last year. He's number one overall pick. That was your case.
Well, no, I said it far more eloquently.
No, you just said it more confusingly.
I do think you can certainly have a better season than he had last year. And I think he's going to have a better season than he did last year.
But your case against Todd Gurley is that he's not good, and his stats are going to go backwards.
No, I never said he's not good. I think he'd be like the number 3 running back overall, 4 running back overall. I don't misconstrue my position. Todd Gurley's clearly a first-round pick. He's a wonderful running back. I just said there's a chance that he may look more like 2016 Gurley than 2017 Gurley, and that would be a problem. But nothing is certain. But even if he does look a little bit worse, the Rams have a lot of other options offensively that they can pick up the slack. And Cooks is a better receiver than Watkins is. You add him into the mix, I think it helps. I think he's going to have a good year.
I trust the offense, even with Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, more than I do to be, and the shootouts that they're going to be playing. You have to think game script wise with the Rams. If they are going to be good, they're probably going to be up in games. They have a pretty good defense, and they're going to be running the ball a lot. I just look at Cooks. I look at Cooks, Kupp, and Woods, and I have them all in the 30s. I don't know which one of them is going to be better. I would guess, just based on skill and upside, it would be Brandon Cooks. If he finished last of those 3,
sure, it's on the table.
It's on the table.
It's on the table, and I get it too. Like again, all these things matter. It's a butterfly effect. Like you have Tyreek Hill lower, it would stand to reason you have Sammy Watkins higher.
Anyone else you want to talk about? Devin Funchess? I like Funchess. Funchess is going to be good.
My problem just with that offense, and again, I know I said that I liked CJ Anderson, and you correctly pointed out that the reason to not like anyone else on this team really is that it's Cam's team.
Yeah, you just want Cam.
But another facet of this is just how slow overall this team operates at. Like, they had the slowest pace of any team in the NFL, and that didn't change even when they were down over a touchdown. Like, they continue to just suck the life out of the clock. And they are a run-dependent team as well. So you factor in that, there's just not going to be a lot of plays. So if you're really starting to nitpick with some of these guys in the later rounds, like I think the fact that even let's say best case scenario, Funchess ends up with a 30% target share.
How many receptions is that really?
That might be 8 or 9 targets a game, which is all right.
And they did add in DJ Moore. Greg Olson's back to being healthy. Curtis Samuel's still a
McCaffrey's
person on their team.
McCaffrey will probably lead this team in targets.
Yeah, that's probably true.
I would agree.
That's just the way it's going to
Olsen.
go. Yeah, or Olsen.
Yeah, I mean, I have.
Yeah,
I have him pretty.
I'm just saying,
low.
like, I think that rightfully so, people look at this part of the draft and they go, okay, who is the number 1 receiver on their team out of sheer desperation's a tough word. But
Well, a guy I have over him, Allen Hurns, I have at number 32. I'm not certain that he's going to be the number 1 on Dallas, but I think he might be.
What's the stat though that Dak is a 70% completion percentage when he's not targeting Dez? Like it's ridiculous.
Well, he's not Dez, so that works out.
He is not Dez.
He's always hurt. That's a problem. But it could be Hurns, it could be Cole Beasley, it could be Michael Gallup, it could be any one of those guys. That's going to be like sort of a training thing.
That's a situation more conducive, I think, to try to find the number 1 receiver than trying to find the number 1 receiver on the Panthers.
Sure, no, I agree. It's like the Michael Crabtree ranking. Is the Allen Hurns ranking mirrors the Michael Crabtree ranking, except I know, at least I'm pretty sure, that Michael Crabtree is going to be the number 1 in Baltimore. I have a feeling that Allen Hurns has a good chance to be the number 1 in Dallas.
Yeah.
Although Tim would probably disagree.
No, I think that's all very well said.
Okay. Sanders we talked about. I like Kenny Stills. I like Rashard Matthews. I think they're fine. I like Robbie Anderson a little bit more. Just in case Josh McCown starts again, he likes to throw to Robbie Anderson. But he might be suspended. We don't know yet.
Robbie is so good.
I have him as a keeper. I have him as a 13th round keeper in the keeper league, Tim, if you're interested.
I know. I'm well aware. Just steal. I'm very jealous.
I'm with you, though. I like, if you're, again, looking to try to find the number 1 receiver on a bad team, I think Stills is the guy I prefer over Parker. Purely from a Stills will play 16 games this year perspective.
I have Parker ranked slightly above. Maybe just
the upside is higher.
Maybe just getting rid of Jarvis Landry was all Devontae Parker needed.
But until he actually stays healthy,
yeah.
I just think that you go with the guy who's probably going to play in more games.
And Stills is going way later. It's almost like Corey Davis versus Rashard Matthews. I think that Corey Davis is a lot better.
Sure.
But based on value, you're getting...
Just take a chance with the guy who's going way later.
Yeah. Anyone else?
I mentioned Richardson. I like him quite a bit.
Marquise Goodwin?
Cam Meredith is kind of fun.
Yeah, Cam Meredith is kind of fun. The Saints.
Yeah.
There's talk about him playing the Marquise Colston role.
Yeah.
That's always intriguing. Although, you know who I like on the Saints? Ben Watson. 38-year-old Ben Watson.
I mean, maybe.
Why not?
I mean, he's a good blocker, which I say is a compliment, but...
He's also good at getting separation. Go get your separation.
No, I know,
stat.
he is. He's
Ben Watson's old man, Ben Watson is up there.
I know.
I mean, people are drafting Kobe Fleener as a top 10 tight end. Ben Watson's better than Kobe Fleener.
Yeah, no, that is true. Oh, Kobe Fleener. That was a tough year with Kobe Fleener.
Yeah, I don't want to turn this into Jets corner, but the receivers are I don't want to, so I won't talk about it.
No, it's okay. This is...
Little Quincy?
I think you have Calvin Ridley way too low.
Do I even have him on the list? Oh, Calvin Ridley.
Right above DJ Moore.
Yeah.
Like, he's a second receiver.
That's great. Mike Williams was the first receiver 2 years ago. Corey Davis was Corey Davis? No, Corey Davis was the first receiver last year, right?
Yeah.
And he had a okay year.
Well, he got hurt.
That's fine.
And also he had Mariota. Yeah, no, the last 3 years at wide receiver...
Is Calvin Ridley even going to beat up Mohamed Sanu?
I don't think so.
I think he will.
I think we underestimate how solid a receiver Mohamed Sanu is.
And they have Julio Jones. And Tim's main man...
They have 2 running backs.
Yeah, they have 2 running backs and Tim's main man, Austin Hoopa.
Yep.
They'll play probably 3 receivers. They're going to give him you remember talking about earlier, having to give somebody extra touches or extra opportunity just because you invested a lot of money or draft capital into him. Well, Calvin Ridley is that.
I don't think you have to do that this season.
Yeah, I feel like
unlike
he's more
a running back, you don't have to put it all on a receiver year one.
He's a new toy, and he's so good is the thing. You watched him at Alabama. He was an exceptional wide receiver. Nobody who watched college ball last year will tell you anything different.
Look, I don't.
Really good player.
Generally speaking, I don't like to do the whole draft trends suggest because each player is different, each situation is different. But the diminishing returns we've had on wide receivers, first-round wide receivers the last 3 seasons, like just because someone was taken in the first round is not a good enough justification to say he's going to be good this year.
And he was thrust into a good situation team-wise where he can be an effective member of that receiving core.
He's Taylor
but he's probably the fourth option offensively on that team.
He's going to have a game where he catches 3 passes for 93 yards and a touchdown,
Sure.
and it's going to look great, but it's just not going to be consistent.
Unless
I'd have him up
Sanu
where you
gets
have
hurt.
I have him where you have Sanu, Pryor, Wilson in that range. I think that's a fair spot for him.
Oh, do you want to make a bet that would you like to make a bet that Mohamed Sanu outscores Calvin Ridley?
No, because you're right. Sanu. No, because Sanu could. I would have him right next to Sanu. So I don't feel confident enough.
He could, but we'll just put it at even money. You seem to be very
No,
high.
it's
You're
not
smoking
that
some Calvin Ridley.
I think we know that Ridley is a marvelous player, and he's a toy. But there's a lot of mouths in that offense. But it's never a bad thing to take a receiver late who is a high pick, who's being plugged into an excellent offense. Like you know what that's not a bad spot to be in. So if you can get him, you have him ranked 74th.
I don't know.
You can get him late, relatively late in your draft. I think he's a really good pick. And
Well, if you have them side by side, Sanu and Calvin Ridley, I'll give you 15.5 fantasy points.
25.
25, sure.
Yeah. Okay, I'll take. You like 25.
I'll say minus 24.5. How about that?
Yeah, sure. That's fine.
For Mohamed Sanu over Calvin
But
Ridley this season.
under the pretenses you just laid out, which I think are accurate, I think it's okay to take home run shots when you get towards the end of the draft. For as much as I just disparaged the Carolina offense and all the
DJ
negatives,
Moore?
I would rather have DJ Moore because the target share is so much. There's a path to a much larger target share that's so much more clear.
Torrey Smith is on that team.
That is true.
Tim's favorite player.
You know what? Torrey Smith wasn't half bad last year. Let's give him his due. He's not a great player, but he wasn't half bad last season.
What did he do last year?
I have to look it up, his numbers. But he actually played pretty decently. I know because I drafted him.
You look up his numbers and tell me what he did. Jacksonville receivers, Marquise Lee, then who? D.D. Westbrook?
Yeah, Dede. I was going to say, though, I think I'd rather have Martavis Bryant than both those rookie guys.
He might not even play.
Yeah, but just sitting in the
He's
sort
gonna
of way...
gonna be suspended for at least 6 games.
Yeah, and that's fine. But in the way that, I feel like if I'm taking DJ Moore, I'm already saying to myself,
I'm not playing this guy
DJ Moore's
till-
not going to be playing till week 7, week 8
Fair
anyway.
enough.
Might as well just take Martavis Bryant.
Bills receivers, Zay Jones, Jeremy Curley.
Horrible catch rate last season.
I don't like those guys. Rod Streeter's on there too, but I don't know. I've always liked him, but I just don't think he's going to matter.
Did you find those Torrey Smith stats yet?
Yeah, I mean, he was injured a bit last year. So
Was he super injured, or did he just not play because he's not good?
in the 11 games he started, he averaged almost 3.5 catches a game, 408 yards in 11 games, a couple of touchdowns with a 58-yarder. I mean, he wasn't half bad.
So how many receptions?
He had 33 receptions in
How many
11
yards?
games, 408.
How many touchdowns? 2?
He had 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, he's great though. Thanks for playing.
No, he didn't say he was great. He just wasn't half
He
bad.
had a fine team. Tim just said you just said he was on your fantasy team last season. That's what he did.
He was, and I didn't have a very good team last year.
That is true. It was a rough
Also,
year.
And then he had Devin Funchess and traded me Devin Funchess for Tyreek Cohen.
I have more championships in that league than you do. I think I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, but you didn't have an undefeated season. 16
that's
and 0. No more to go. The
I only had an
best
undefeated
fantasy
suicide
season of all time.
It is. I mean, I had an undefeated suicide pick season, but I never
And won $0 on it. So congratulations on that. So for the very end, the all-name team.
Okay.
And when we're talking about Ridley and those sorts of guys, I'd rather have Ginn and Deshaun Jackson, Cam
You'd
Meredith.
rather have Ted Ginn? Ted Ginn's terrible.
Oh, you want to do Ted Ginn versus he's terrible. Ginn versus Ridley?
Come on. Ted Ginn is so terrible.
Well, do you want to give me points on that then?
No, we'll do it strate up.
All right, Ginn versus Ridley straight up.
I don't understand in what world Ginn could have a better season.
That's free money. We talk about free money. Ginn versus Ridley. Wow, man.
Oh my goodness gracious. Ted Ginn is so bad.
So the all-name team here at the end. We have Michael Canyonero.
That's a good one.
Still on. Baltimore. We have, what's the name? Equinemius?
Equinemius.
I thought, when I saw it, because I don't really give a shit about college football, that he was just some guy that was his last name, and he went to State Brown, which was some college I had never heard of.
St. Brown State.
St. Brown State. Real generic Mike Williams is down there, because that could be anyone. We have Kiki Kute. He's
I
on.
have no idea who that is.
He's on the Dolphins.
Is
isn't
he on the Dolphins?
Yeah. And we have the Chark attack, DJ Chark,
There you go.
on Jacksonville. Traquan Smith, which is just an excellent name. I believe he's also on Green Bay. And my single favorite player
That's really good.
the entire year, I think he is a Green Bay receiver as well.
Yep.
Jamon Moore. Oh, I can't wait for him to be good. He'll be so good. I'm drafting him in our keeper league just so I can
You're gonna
Jamon some more.
Redshirt him?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Be better than Tim. Tim will have Torrey Smith.
No, I will not.
No, because he won't trust himself not to be tempted to play him.
Tim's best
It's a really good matchup
Tim's best
this week.
fantasy player that he was bragging about last year was Jermaine Kearse.
Oh.
Got him for nothing.
He was your best player.
I wouldn't say he was my best.
Who was your best player then?
I'd have to go
Did-
through my line.
Devin Funchess before you just traded him to me for nothing?
I didn't trade him for nothing. I traded him for Cohen. In a keeper league, I'd far rather have Cohen than Funchess. He's trash.
We didn't even make a Cohen bet. Where can we make a Cohen bet at?
Well, I'm sure we will have ample opportunities to do so.
The Hebrew Hammer. Ice Cream Cohen. All right, that'll do it on the Pat Mayo Experience wide receiver rankings. You can check out my full list in the description of this video or podcast, or just up on dkplaybook.com and on facebook.com/thepme. My entire draft kit is up there where you can find links to all the rankings and all the debate shows. I want to thank you for being here, Garion. It was a pleasure.
Oh, thank you. That's very nice.
You're a nice fella.
Oh, that's sweet.
And in this light, your glasses look less ladylike.
Hooray!
Big win for you.
Yeah.
You know what I'd also like to thank? Paul Shaughnessy for being behind the camera. He just does such a great, he just does a great job bringing in the graphics, switching the cameras. And I would not like to thank Tim Undergust.
Tim Andergust.
That is not my name.
But you weren't thanked. And why'd you
That's all right. I'm used to not getting I do credit, not being thanked for things. But that's all right. Sometimes you have to sacrifice on behalf of the people.
Historically, men of the people are underappreciated in their time.
Do you think you can go better than 0% with the bets you make this year against me?
I expect to win them all. I don't make bets. I think I'm going to lose.
Well,
What goes on in your mind?
history dictates otherwise.
There's
So
a
many
lot of
slushies coming your way.
There's a lot of opportunities where you've made fun of me and said whatever your bet you're suggesting is ridiculous, and then I win it. And so
When does that ever happen?
last year when I said, I think the Rams are definitely going to exceed their win total,
Did have
and
the
you
Rams.
laughed and you harangued.
But
and
on the
mocked
other
me,
side
and
of that, we were like, hey, Tim, this is the year to stay on the Jaguars. And you're like, no.
No, can't do it. They're trash.
I'm aware. Also, I get a lot of picks wrong, too.
Yeah, you're bringing up the one thing you got right in 50 predictions.
I get more than that right.
Yeah, you don't. Like when you said that the Jets had a bye before the bye when they played Tampa Bay. And what did they do? They lost.
At one point, I picked the Eagles to win the Super Bowl.
And then you said that they
picked
had
a
no
lot of
chance.
teams to
And
win the
then you said they had no chance of winning the Super Bowl.
But not before the game itself.
Well, you can't. At one point, we went through this in the playoffs. Of the 12 teams in the playoffs last year, at some point or another, you would pick 10 of them to win the Super Bowl. And one of them wasn't the Patriots somehow.
That's just good prognosticating.
The Patriots and Jags were the only teams of the 12 who qualified for the playoffs that you didn't pick to win the Super Bowl. So I guess by that reasoning, you were right on those two picks.
You know that clip
That's not going to happen this year.
where
I am not
someone's...
going to make multiple picks. I am not going to, make mid-season picks. When I make my official picks, that'll be all that I make.
You think you could stick to that, honest to God? Would you like to make a bet on that?
I am not going to allow myself to review or reduce my picks. I'm making one set of picks, and I'm rolling with them.
When will you be revealing those picks?
Well, probably around when we do win totals.
Fantastic.
Well, that'll be fun. And Feinberg will be here, and
He
Feinberg
will.
will be devastated about how much you seem to love the Chargers all of a sudden. Although you said that Kansas City was free money against them week 1.
They're a wild card team, and I still think they're a wild card team. You can be 11-5 and be a wild card team.
Like the Jets. Or did the Jets win the division?
No,
in
they win the
11-5?
division, remember? Because they're resting their stars.
Oh, and Brady's washed up, and all the Patriots are just terrible. I forgot about that.
Except for Chris Hogan,
Except for Chris Hogan.
who's
I'm
going to
gonna be right
overcome.
one of these years, and the amount of credit I'm going to be getting.
It doesn't matter if you're 1 for 11.
Yeah, you've picked against them. I believe now it's 2008, 2009, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and I guess this will be
This is year 11.
This is year 11. So you've picked against them 10 straight years not to win the division. and you've been wrong every single year.
If you think that I am above not demanding credit if it happens this year, you're very mistaken.
I'll be right there
I will
celebrating
not be
with you,
correct.
but who the hell is winning that division?
Apparently the Jets.
Oh.
All right, that'll do it. Like I said, on the Pat Mayo Experience, you can follow Garion on Twitter at Garion Thorne. Follow me at the PME, Tim at Tim Anderson87. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook at the same PME, where you can find the draft kit, everything fun like that. Plus, give me your 2 favorite wide receiver sleepers in the comment section, along with your DraftKings handle, and give the episode a like, and you are in the draw for some DK bucks at the beginning of August when we do a rankings update. Hope to have the whole gang back together for that one. Could be Sealy. We'll see. Tim might have just died from bad predictions by then. He's going to skip the country because he's going to realize he's going to lose way too much money. And not just this picture again. How good's the picture?
Stop showing that photo.
How good's the picture?
I'm going to make a public service announcement. Please, I know people like to do this stuff where they put my photo into GIFs and GIFs and various, memes. Please spare me. Do not put me into any memes with that photo.
I think you should try and jump ahead of this right now. If I was your PR manager,
No.
I would say that right now you should release that photo on Twitter so that Pat doesn't have the satisfaction of revealing it in an episode.
I do. I too think you should do that.
yeah, I bet you do. I most certainly am not doing that.
It was a valiant attempt.
I thought it was there.
All right. Anyway, I'm Pat Mayo. Subscribe to the Pat Mayo Experience, DraftKings YouTube page, and DK Live app for the video versions, podcast versions. So just bring the Pat Mayo Experience with you, free on demand whenever you like. iTunes, TuneIn, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, Google Music, iHeartRadio, Radio Public, and others. Anyway, I'm Pat Mayo. Enjoy the fantasy football season. I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!